and welcome. My name's Chris Cann with Harbour Insight, and with me I have Dominic, Wierik and Denis Orlov, and they're with major Chinese equipment manufacturer SANY, and we're going to talk about the evolution of technology and equipment supply in the Australian market, and then potentially SANY's positioning in contributing to that evolution and that future. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris.
Dom, I'll start with you. Based on your experience in the Australian mining space and generally just in technology and equipment supply, how do you see operational practices and the necessary equipment evolution and technology evolution keeping pace with those operational changes?
Yeah, great question. In the Australian industry today, what we're seeing is a move towards decarbonisation, so reducing fuel burn, reducing the need for diesel on site, and also autonomy, mainly because there's a bit of a skill shortage at the moment that's happening, not just here in Western Australia, but other parts of Australia and some parts of the world. So it's really important that we as a company understand that, there are some very aggressive goals out there by mining companies to reduce fuel burn and to reduce their carbon emissions, and at the same time automate as much as their facilities and operations as they can to reduce cost. So, while it's a big cost up front to make a change, ultimately the costs will come down with automation and emissions controls.
Okay, so they're the two big drivers. We're looking at a greener future and an autonomous future as well.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And Denis, just on the SANY piece specifically, we have talked in a separate conversation about some of the green credentials, but in terms of having greener fleets, moreover, and moving with that progression, that evolution, and then the autonomy piece, how is SANY positioned?
I think we're positioned quite well. One of the reasons being that the autonomous piece of our technology is vertically integrated. So currently we have autonomous trucks, around 120 units operating across 6 different facilities, 6 different mines, various applications, various commodities. So I think that technology can be brought into Australian mining quite easily. It's very transferable. In terms of the product itself, being battery electric, we have a range of ancillary equipment that can already be provided to support those decarbonization targets. The prime mover in mining truck is hybrid with the view of changing to full electricity. And then the range of hydraulic mining excavators coming in the next few years will have both electric and diesel versions available.
Okay. Can you give us a feel for the full range of equipment that is relevant for the mining space very quickly?
Very quickly would be easier to say what we don't produce, right? I don't know if we have.
Okay.
But I think out of the global OEMs, we are probably one of the very few, if not the only one, who can provide a range of decarbonization strategies with wind and solar, battery storage, diesel generation, and then going to mobile equipment, including full electric. And if the future with autonomy creates what we call swarmification, when there is more of the smaller trucks, we have a range of those as well. So whichever way the strategy goes, whether it's less larger trucks or more smaller trucks, we can provide those solutions.
Okay, and Dom, the speaking specifically, going from the full fleet to or the full range to one specific unit, the SCT 150's come out reasonably recently and is getting a fair bit of attention. Is that because it's doing something that's a bit different and has struck a chord with consumers generally, or is it something that it's particularly appropriate for the Australian market?
Yeah, it's pretty much new concept to the Australian market. So I like to call it the new mousetrap. So while it's been operating in other parts of the world with great success, we need to share that good news here. So we are getting a lot of interest, from customers about our product, given that, we don't have anything direct competition. While there are, traditional diesel models and electric drive, being a hybrid, it is sort of flagged quite a bit of interest because of the reduction in fuel burn, but also it's a bridging strategy towards full EV, which when you have full EV requires a different level of infrastructure and a high level of cost to set that infrastructure up. So it is raising a lot of eyebrows in the industry right now. And I think we've got some really good opportunities to share some case studies. And when we do that, I think people will be surprised with what they see.
Okay, and where does it sit, staying with you, Dom, if it's okay, where does it sit within what's being consumed in the Australian market at the moment from the SANY range in terms of the scale of the equipment and how it compares with kind of products up and down the line?
Yeah, okay, great question. So at the moment, it's a 150 short ton truck, which generally suits all the types of miners depending on their applications. It's at the smaller end of what we offer at the moment. We are moving towards a 240 ton, which is probably a more of a sweet spot for some of the larger iron ore miners. But having the 150 ton, I think, sits nicely with, it's not a full-on production machine in some applications, but it's good enough to provide a really economic approach to mining. And given it's still fairly new, it's a product that people can play around a little bit if they don't feel too comfortable, because a new product in the market can sometimes scare people. And if it's a full production machine without knowing how it fully operates, can generate a sense of cautiousness.
Okay, Denis, we touched on earlier the size of the range of equipment that SANY is producing and other industries. My understanding and my little snoop around YouTube quickly, there's some incredible facilities that SANY operates, but back in China. Incredible scale. The thing that kind of jumps out at you is the scale. How does that benefit of scale? How does that translate to value or benefit if you're an Australian mining company?
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you. So in China, we have 46 factories, and that's not the only footprint that we have globally. There is a number of factories we have in the United States, in Europe, and in the Asian region. So out of those 46 factories, I was personally, with the experience that I've had, I was blown away, for the lack of the better term, by the scale and the level of automation in the manufacturing facilities. So very modern, built recently with the focus on the current technologies to make it as efficient as possible. So I think it provides the benefits of consistent quality, cost, and then ongoing support when we grow the product and we have future iterations in the future.
It's a good point, Denis, and I think one of the interesting things and one of the potentially misunderstood concepts around new equipment coming in from overseas, particularly China potentially, that scale does deliver cost savings, and I think people naturally feel that lower costs will mean lower quality. And from my understanding and from what I've seen with the factory, and just from footage, obviously, my understanding is that the quality is not being compromised. What assurances are there for people who are considering shifting from other suppliers, which have served them very well, who need to save money, who are interested in those capex savings, opex savings? What kind of assurances or what demonstrations would you be able to give them to suggest actually you don't have to compromise on quality?
Absolutely. I think when it comes to the quality aspect, it's well ingrained into SANY culture. After all, our motto is quality changes the world. And I encourage everyone to visit the factories, have a look at the scale, and we get the benefits, of course, of economy of scale. Have a look at the levels of automation, which gives us quality and the cost reduction once again. And then see for yourself our proving grounds, our facilities, and how the engineering teams are working and supporting the products, and how it's all supported throughout the organization with the management and the business development teams.
Okay, and Dom talked about the green credentials earlier. Talked about automation. With the industry moving so quickly, or at least needing to move even faster, with the demands from the consumer side, what is SANY able to do to future-proof the product line, and to help mining companies remain compliant and future-proof their operations? Is it all about being green and greener and autonomy, or are there other things that you're thinking about in terms of ensuring that you have the product line of the future to support the mining operations of the future?
Very much future-proof. The view is that if there is an existing technology already to support those initiatives, SANY is one of the first pioneers to grab those technologies and integrate them into the product line. As a large OEM, we have probably one of the best positions to capitalize on that, because the integration happens very quickly, and we have established relationship with other suppliers, and we can package it into our product. With the vertical integration and the development, we're already well suited for the current requirements, for the interim requirements bridging before we go to full decarbonization solutions. And when the technology becomes available, we are at the forefront of that to have it integrated into the products of the future.
Guys, that's all we've got time for, but thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.